Hey, good morning. Good morning. Week 5. Next week is midterm. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Cool. All right. Yeah. Okay. So yesterday I was thinking of some problems to work on today, and so I have a bunch of ideas. We can try a bunch of different ideas today, and we'll see so different ways in which this could take off. So I will start implementing a bunch of functions. But however, I want to say, I don't know if the midterm covers arrays also, arrays and functions, up to arrays and functions. I think so. I think the midterm covers all topics up to arrays, up to and including arrays and functions. No classes, okay? No classes and objects for the midterm yet. That will come after the midterm, the second half of the course. First half is all functions, control structures, and also arrays and functions. So this week we'll cover both arrays and functions. Week 5, and next week we'll start talking about objects. Okay, so that is the beginning of C++. Until today, you're just programming in C, not C++, essentially. Well, we're using a few C++ constructs, but really we're not using the power of C++. Just C with some additional syntax. That's all. Okay, so we'll use objects next week. So we will start in about 2 or 3 minutes after more people join in. There's a few people already, but we'll give other people a chance to join. And then today, like I said before, someone can take the screen, and then we can start coding some functions and arrays. Okay, so we'll do some functions and arrays. Yes, thank you, Ken. And also the others, please switch on your cameras. Really, it's much better that way. Okay. Great. And you should all feel free to just talk amongst yourself, okay? You should ask each other questions, what quest they're on, and even if you're having difficulties with a quest, take about 5 or 10 minutes now to ask your classmates, not specifically what's going on with the quest, but you can say, well, I'm kind of getting stuck in this point. What do you think I should check? And things like that. Now, there's so many people in this class who can help you, right? And I think I mentioned this before also in class, because this is a community college. We have a wide sample of student expertise, right? We have students who are from high school, who want to learn about programming, and we also have students who already know programming, who've been out there, who just come back to pick up C++. So we just need to be mindful of the gap, the standard deviation in experience within our class. And so we just need to make sure that all the time we have to check with other people and say, hey, are we all on the same page? Not such a big problem in 2C and 2B, okay? 2B and 2C, only people that are really interested in computer science should do, right? So people who are not majoring in computer science, who just want to learn about computer science, I want to know what programming is and things like that, yeah, okay, you can do 2A, right? You can do 2A. But when you go to 2B and 2C, anyway, I'm not just talking about this for some other subjects too, but certainly for computer science. If you want to do 2B and 2C, you got to be really committed. And so we don't have that problem, because people entering 2B already are supposed to have a solid understanding of the basic concepts. In fact, that's one of the reasons why my 2B class, the strength in my 2B class just plummeted, okay? And went, not rock bottom, but it's very low now. And I did some homework, and I collected some data, and I figured out that it is a very high chance that these students who dropped, based on their feedback also that they gave me, they were not just prepared. They want to do the course, but they were not prepared. They were not solid on 2A concepts. Now, the thing I want to emphasize here is that according to Foothill College guidelines, or a community college, actually it doesn't even have to be community colleges, any college out there, right? You go to any other bigger university, and they have sequence courses, right? So you can't do this before you do that. You can't do that before you do. Yeah, you have sequence courses. Okay, so here is a mistake that a lot of students do. Now you can save yourself this trouble if you haven't yet gone to college. Well, most of you are already in college, but you can save yourself this trouble downstream by people. I've seen people struggle in the sequence courses in the second part and third part of sequence courses, and they basically, you know, pretty much die and give up at some point. And how do you prevent that? So here's how you can prevent that from happening. You do not enroll in a sequence course unless you have got an A, right? I'm not, you know, because in the next course, it actually, the next course in a sequence requires you to know all of this, right? However, this course says, well, if you're going to major, you got to know all of this. But if you want to pass, okay, you want to pass and get, you know, something on your check mark on your transcript, you only need to know this much. Okay, so C++ and 2A, it's okay to pass. It's okay to learn about just objects and how to put objects together and how to attach functions to objects. That's a pass in C++. Okay, quest number 6. If you finish quest number 6, you've done a decent job in midterms and finals, you pass. Okay, but the problem I'm seeing is that not so much from my sections, right? So from other sections, people enroll in my 2B and 2C, they've just got passes, right? Just pass, they eked through those other courses. I said, well, I've done my 2A, now I want to pick up my 2B. Well, they're going to get slaughtered in 2B, okay? They'll just get slaughtered before they even know it, right? They try the first 2 assignments and they say, oh, I'm out of my depth here, right? I'm swimming with the sharks, okay? I'm just a little minnow swimming with the sharks. And, you know, and so you can get by. There are other easy sections of 2B and 2C. Anywhere else you can go, right? Other colleges even, they may be offering easier ways of getting C++ knowledge, not really picking it up, but, you know, getting through the paperwork. But, you know, they can say, oh, you know, I went to this, you know, top university and I got A's all the way, straight A's all the way, you know, GPA of 5.0 out of 4 and all that shit, okay? And then they go to work. And I've employed people like that, okay? I've hired people who got straight A's with a 5.0 GPA and all. Okay, and I thought they were going to kick ass. And this was, you know, early days of hiring and all, because I didn't really know. I had to bank a lot on resumes and what people told me instead of actually probing the candidate themselves. And I found that, you know, even though they got 5.0 GPAs, they were, you know, they had absolutely no idea what to do. And simple tasks, they would do it in an inefficient way, not an efficient way. But out there, you can't do things inefficiently, because out there, you know, Google and Microsoft, they're spending real money. Right? They're spending real money on putting products together, and you go and say, you give me real money, but I'll put out a shoddy product. They're going to get, you know, get the hell out of here. Okay, because, you know, we can't spend your real money because, you know, it's our, you know, ass on the line here. So it's better to get slaughtered in college than to get slaughtered out there, because once you lose a real job out there saying this guy's incompetent, you're going to find it much harder to get into the same level, right? The next job you get will be at a lower level. And that doesn't feel so good to most people, I think. Right? So it's better to get slaughtered in college, and well, it's actually not better to get slaughtered at all. So the way to not get slaughtered at all is to make sure that if you want to progress. So I don't know how many of you are planning to major in computer science, but computer science, by computer science, I mean anything related to math, data engineering, okay, linear algebra, data engineering, machine learning, game development, all of that I think is computer science, okay? If any of you are planning to, right? If you're planning to major in those areas, learn more about these areas, you just raise your hand so I get a reasonable idea. 2A, usually not so many people, okay? 2A, a lot of people are just checking things out. I say, oh, I want to learn about, you know, a few things. Say, yeah, good, thank you, Bernardo, right? So those of you who are planning to major in computer science, this is my strongest recommendation. You check with Walter, okay? Walter's done 2A, BC. If you're majoring in computer, you got to get an A in 2A, okay? That's why it's called 2A, right? So you got to get to an A. Otherwise, B is out of bounds. Well, you can go to an easier section. Even at Foothill, we offer easier sections, right? We say, you just have to do these assignments. I'll just look over the assignments. I won't check deeply for bugs. Okay, even if it doesn't pass, and if it's going to crash on your computer, okay, it looks kind of right. I'll give you 20 marks for that. Okay, I know a lot of instructors at Foothill who do that. I used to do that, okay? You know, I used to do that a long time ago. I used to take students' assignments in. And the first time when I started teaching at Foothill, I used to look at all the student assignments, okay? And I say, well, you know, I went through the first pass. And I say, well, I have, you know, 40 assignments to grade here. Let me take a look, okay? And I can tell you, right, out of the 40, not even one passed, okay? Basically, not even one of those programs went all the way through if you compile it and run it. Everything had at least a few bugs. Okay. However, all of them had, you know, the rough logic, right, here and there. Okay. So if you look at it and say, well, you know, that's what they're trying to do. They're using a queue here. They're using a, you know, a heap here and so on and so forth. And okay, yeah, well, okay, all right, it works. Okay. But, you know, that's just the overall idea. But that's not computer science. Computer science is about being careful about little details. Well, it's not just computer science. Any job you go to out there, okay, what they pay you for is not the big picture. Why do they pay you for the big picture once you're up there? Okay, but most of the time, when people pay you, they are paying you to be careful, because being careful, it takes a lot of practice. Okay, being careful takes a lot of practice. Anybody who's learned music also, they know, right? So you can get it overall, okay, but in order to get it perfect, and you got to be careful, and that care comes just with practice. Practice, so you know exactly what to do when. And because it is hard, people pay big money for that. Okay, people don't pay big money for, yeah, okay, I read the book, I know how, you know, the story goes. Okay, so yeah, everybody knows that. But you know, I've read the book and I know exactly which page which comma occurs. Okay, yeah, well, okay, come and work for us, we'll give you $1 billion a year. Okay, so that kind of detail, attention to detail, is what distinguishes good product managers. Okay, good product managers, good programmers, good managers generally, good, you know, good employees in general. Attention to detail, because attention to detail is a pain in the ass for lots of people who are not deep in the trenches. Okay, so your manager cannot be deep in the trenches, they got to be out there. Therefore, they're actually banking on you, they're depending on you to be in the detail and looking at the detail. If not, they got to be in the trenches with you, which means they can be in other trenches helping other people. So they're saying, well, you know, I can't spend the time doing that detail thing, but I can do it, and this is how you do it, and I thought you could do it too, that's why we hired you. But if you can't do it, then, you know, so that's where the problem happens. So 2A, please make sure that, you know, if you're planning to major in computer science, you got to go all the way through and ace everything. Okay, not, you don't have to ace all the class, but you got to get an A in class, and then you can go on to 2B and 2C. I hope a lot of you will enroll in my 2B. Okay, my 2B is, I think a lot of students say it's more challenging than some other sections, not even just in Foothill. Okay, they're more challenging than everything that's out there in the Bay Area, everything in, you know, in Palo Alto. I think I've spoken to so many people who are enrolled in so many colleges in the Bay Area, right? And they say, well, this is actually the most challenging course I've ever taken. I've done courses in all these places, okay, comparative courses. So what I'm trying to say is that, you know, it's not challenging with a view to weeding out the weak links, right? No, it is challenging with a view to saying, well, if you don't want to major, well, you'll pass. Okay, that's okay. But the challenging part is to make sure that you'll be set up to do the next thing, right? And even 2C is challenging, not because I'm going to teach you 2D. Well, we don't have 2D, right? 2C is challenging because after 2C, you're going to be working for Google or Microsoft or Netflix, and you're out there. And that won't be challenging if you actually did 2C properly, because you'll know exactly what your fellow engineers are talking about. And so that's basically the idea here. Okay, so what we'll do today is we'll try and work through some problems using arrays and functions, and take it from there. Okay, you guys still want like 5 or 10 minutes to talk to each other, and the other people also, Ashley, Samir, Darshana, Nathan, Joshua, Philip, yeah, feel free to switch on your cameras at some point as soon as possible, and then we'll get started. And when we're ready, one of you, I don't know who, but Sadvik said his internet is kind of flaking today. Is your internet still flaky? No, you can code?
Yeah.
Hey, that's cool. That's cool. Okay, so Sadvik can code today. The first person to code. There will be other, you know, he's not the only person, just like last class. I think, by the way, raise your hand if you think last class, the way we did last class actually worked. Where lots of people came, lots of students coded, right? Not just one student, and we did lots and lots of functions. Okay, not just one big project saying, well, you know, in order to find interesting things in this class, you got to master this 200-line program. Yeah, okay. I watched the video later and I thought, what a crappy way to teach this class. Okay, so you know, if you want to understand the concept, you got to learn the whole thing. Yeah, okay, that is. Hopefully that's the last time I'm doing that. Okay, well, maybe for 2B and 2C we can pick up some bigger projects and work on those things. 2A, I think, well, certainly at least until we get to, you know, the later week 8, week 9, week 10, we can work on the bigger projects. But until then, we'll try and restrict ourselves to just working on the smaller things. Okay, so for about 2 or 3 minutes, please talk to each other. Okay, so there's a bunch of messages in chat. I don't actually see. I can't see the chat. Okay, I got to expand it. Yeah, okay, it's not to me. That's good. All right, so you just talk to each other and for about 5 minutes, okay? And then we'll start as soon as we're ready. And then Sadvik will be the first person to take the screen, and then we'll code up something. Okay? So yeah, 5 minutes. I'm just going to be here. I'm not going to be talking. And let me just try and sit down and refine this idea that I have. Because, you know, I thought about the idea yesterday and I thought, okay, well, should I refine it today or tomorrow? And I thought, well, it takes about 5 or 10 minutes to, so I'll do it now. Okay. So you guys just talk and talk amongst each other about, you know, issues with coding and you know, particular quests also, but not specific quest problems. Okay. So let me try and think about more about what we're going to do today. You guys should be talking, okay? So no silence. Please talk, because otherwise, you know, people who watch the video, they just switch it off and say, oh, nothing's happening here, okay? And students need to know that, well, you know, some stuff is coming up.
Do you guys know where we can find these recordings after, like what the name of the YouTube channel is or where it's linked?
It should. You know what?
Shouldn't
I
it
don't
be
know.
just in the recordings of Foothill Zoom? Or like the
Oh, is
cloud
it?
recordings of Foothill Zoom?
I don't think
I
they're
mean, in
there
other
though.
classes, it's there.
Yeah, in
seen
other
it.
classes it is, but it's not for this class.
I literally
Oh.
just looked it up on YouTube and it showed up. Like
Oh,
I just
really?
put like
Really?
CS2A Foothill. And it showed up. Let me see if
Oh.
I can find the channel. I can maybe put the link in the chat.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep, we are searching.
Yeah, here I got it. 1 second. I just need to switch accounts. Yeah, here I got the link. I'll put it in, like, just give me like 1 minute.
Oh,
Sweet.
nice.
Here, that's like just like a random one. That's from Thursday, October 20th. But if you just click on the
Which
link, I mean, you can go to the channel.
Subscribe. There we go.
Nice.
Cool, thanks.
Okay, I think I got a reasonably good handle on what we're going to do today. Okay, so that's fantastic. Okay, cool. And in fact, even though you abandoned the game that we developed before, actually we did get a functioning full-fledged game. We just abandoned at the stage where we want to add bells and whistles. But what we'll do today is, after we do functions and arrays, we'll try and write a little function that can potentially act as a leaderboard for a game that you will develop later on. However, it is not so. When you save things in a computer, there's two places you can save things, and most of you already know that. Okay, you can either save it on disk or you can save it in memory. Yes or no? Yeah. Okay. So the disadvantage of saving it in memory is that when the power is gone, the data is gone too. Yes. So, but if you save it on disk, if the power is gone, it's still there. You can read it back in. So that is called persistent storage, and that is called non-persistent storage. You know, memory is non-persistent because it doesn't persist between power outages. So, so what we'll do today is create a leaderboard function later on, not leaderboard function, which will give you the functionality with a non-persistent functionality, which means as long as the game is running, it'll keep track of all the top players, the leaderboard. We're not going to do a game or anything, right? I'll just do this using a mock thing, right? So we'll say that's what we'll do. All right, I think it'll be exciting. Okay, towards the end. Okay, towards the end. So we'll try and make it. So we'll have some interesting, juicy bit towards the end. Okay, so until then, we'll play with arrays and do some basic functions and so on. All right, are we ready to go? Yeah. Okay. All right. Now, Sadvik is the first person to code, I think. Thank you, Sadvik. All right, great. Okay. So I put a comment right on the top of the file saying today's class code and the date and all. So what is today? 24? 20, 25. Today's class code. Yeah. Hey, you're writing. So that is the Indian way of writing the date, right? Because that's how I used to write it the first time I left India. So the month goes first in the US. Now you can actually say October. Yeah, that's easier. All right, 10, 20, 25. 22. All right, cool. All right, so okay, so here's what we're going to do, and also put a comment up at the line number 3. Line number 3 will say today we're going to play with functions and arrays. Functions and arrays. Okay. And then on the next line, also put a comment saying both are included for the midterm. Both are needed for the midterm. Okay, next week. Both are needed for the midterm next week. So that people who watch the video will know, right? Because every time just before the midterm, I invariably have questions either on Reddit or email saying, hey, what's included? Do we have to know about arrays? Yes, we have to know about. Okay. All right, so here's what we'll do. Now in main, let's declare an array of integers, okay? We'll just do an array of integers. And we'll say, yeah, int, yeah, call it ARRAY rather than AR, because, you know, I know what you mean, what you're trying to do, but array looks better. And because we're not going to be using that in a lot of places, it's better to have a longer name. Okay, array, and then within brackets, within the square brackets, you're going to say 10. And then close brackets. Okay, semicolon. All right, now put a comment on that line. Put a comment on that line. On line 12 itself by the array. Right? This and you can put a comment saying this gives us 10 integer 10 integers stored contiguously in memory. Contiguously. G-U-O-U-S-ly. Yeah, contiguously. Everybody know what contiguously means? Yeah, next to each other. And it's like super duper important. That is what gives you the power of arrays. Arrays give you that power. So two things about arrays, and two things about arrays are super duper important. One, the first thing, every element of the array has got to be the exact same size. Okay, you can't say I want an array. In the first cell I'm going to put an integer, in the second cell I'm going to put a string, in the third cell I'm going to put a pet, and things like that. You can't do that, right? Because you can do that and you can get a row of rooms and you can say in this room I'm going to put that, in that room you get, yeah, that's okay. But arrays can't work like that. Okay, if you have an array, every element has to be exactly the same size. The second thing is that yeah, so the second important property, I think, is that, well, I was thinking 3, well, let's just stick with 2, right? So the second property is that all of the elements have to be next to each other, meaning that they all occupy cells with strict numbering in a sequence, okay? 0, 1, 2, 3, okay? So, so on the next line, you can say the first element of the array is an array of 0. The first element of the array is at array square bracket 0. Is at the first element of the array is at array square bracket 0, and the last element is at what? Someone else should fill this in. Okay, not Sadvik, but someone else. The Sadvik seems to already know some programming here. Okay, so someone else, someone who is less. Sorry.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, Nemo.
Square bracket 9.
Yeah, okay. So it's array of 9. So the 10 elements you asked are placed in locations 0 through 9, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9, 10, right? 10 elements. So there, and why is it important? And so can someone tell me, why is it important? Because, you know, maybe in computer science, scientists generally, you don't make things for no reason. Yes, we got an array. It's kind of cool, so it's an array. No, we want an array because it has something very, very important. And these two properties are super duper important. Why are they important? Okay, what is it about these two properties that are that is so important for us? Why? Take a guess. Okay, take a guess. And remember, what are the two properties? Every element is the same size, and all the elements are in sequential locations. Yes, sequential, one after another. Why is that important?
Looping through arrays.
Hmm?
You can loop through arrays. So why?
You can loop through arrays. That is one thing. Okay, yes, because, you know, contiguous. There's another important reason. Okay, there's the other reason, because you can also loop through everything, right? Anything. You can also loop through linked lists, right? So you have an element and it's connected to the next element. You can loop through that too. Yes. So looping through is an interesting and important property that arrays have, but it is not the distinguishing property. That's what distinguishing property is. What is it about arrays specifically that other things don't have? Because otherwise, you know, if everything the array does is offered to us by something else, nobody would be using arrays. Yeah, we'd be using something else. So why do we need arrays? Why do we need arrays? Take a guess, okay? It's perfectly fine to keep guessing, even though it's wrong and all, perfectly fine. Okay, we just need to be. Take a guess and let me know.
Is it because you can access any number or any like object in the line of the arrays?
Good, good. Yeah. You're going in the right direction, and maybe you said the right thing too, and I didn't understand it. Can you say that again, Leonardo? It's actually correct. Okay, it's in the right direction anyway. So say that again.
Well, like with like array bracket 9, like you can put any number in that bracket and access any like value within that array.
Right. Yes, you can. Now, what is it about doing that is so cool with an array? And maybe you guys don't, maybe some of you don't know this. Okay, so I'll explain. So the reason that is so important is because if, think about it, right? And you can picture this. If I gave you some structure and you didn't know how big the cells were, and I told you, I want the 300th element, or let's say the 9th element, like Leonardo said, I want the 9th element. How would you do that? Now, one way is to do what William suggested, right? So Will said, just go to the first element and then loop 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, I got it. Return it. Okay, so that's one way of doing this. Yes. If I ask you for the 9th element, you can just loop through from the first one and give it to me. That'll work. Yes or no? So it is a perfectly acceptable, not the best way. And in fact, it's actually one of the worst ways to do it if you have an array, but it is acceptable. It'll work, right? Because if you go and work for someone who doesn't know about computer science and says, oh, yeah, I want to do this, you can actually implement that and it'll work. And for small problems, and they'll be happy, they'll pay you money too. Unless they say, I got this thing, now I'm going to, I got this thing that, you know, these 2A students built for me. I'm going to, now it actually, and I made sure it works, and I'm going to scale it into a big product for the whole world, okay, out there. And it just doesn't work at all in big scale. And so one other thing that's like super duper important. Hey, Will, you gotta, you raise your hand. You have a question?
Yeah, I was just gonna ask, is that because like it's an order of log, or no, order of n in that scenario versus like other, like there's quicker ways to do it? Is that why?
Yes, okay, all right. So it is what Will said, but I'm gonna not use the order language here, because, you know, order, that all comes in 2C. Okay, maybe a little bit in 2B. So I don't want anyone to be thrown off track. So what Will is saying essentially in more 2A terms is essentially that, you know, if you want the 9th element, the slow way, the bad way to do that is to start at 0 and keep walking forward, bam, 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 until you get to 9 and pick that and give it back. The better way to do that is to leverage knowledge that you already have. Good computer scientists always exploit every single bit of information out there, every single bit of information, right? No matter what, if you know even the slightest bit about the problem, you'll bring that to bear because you can make your algorithm faster. Okay, so two things you know about the array. One is that each element is a fixed size, right? And all the elements are contiguous. Now, suppose you wanted a 10th element. All you have to do is you don't have to go to the first element and walk like this. Imagine a right triangle, okay? Right triangle. You want to get here, and you're here. You can go like that and like that. That is a slow way. But whereas an array says, well, you actually know exactly how to get there directly because you know that each element is exactly 4 bytes long, and you want the 9th element. Okay, so there's 8 elements before you. So you got to skip how many bytes? You got 8 elements long before you. You need to go to the 9th element. If you did it the brain dead way, yeah, 32. Thank you, Samir. Okay, 32. Yeah, thank you. Right. So you know that you just need to skip 32 elements and you can get to the right place. Therefore, instead of actually walking, okay, you can let your mind do the walking. Okay, so back in the day, okay, when Yellow Pages was, these days nobody uses Yellow Pages of the time, phone book, right? They give us these big fat books nobody uses it. And what's the relevance of Yellow Pages here? Yeah, I don't know how Yellow Pages was looped in here, but basically you're going to say instead of doing that, I'm going to calculate exactly where I need to go using, yeah, that's right. Yellow Pages had an ad. Yellow Pages had an ad, okay? And do you guys know the symbol for the logo for Yellow Pages? It's like this. Yeah, it's like an inverted Y, right? And the reason they have this logo for Yellow Pages is that don't go to the store on your foot, right? These two legs, okay? Don't go walking by foot to your store to find out if they have an item, right? You can just look up the Yellow Pages, okay, and say, I want to buy this spanner, or I want to buy a gallon of milk. Where can I buy it? And Yellow Pages will tell you, right? You give your phone number saying, call this number, and if they have it, you can go there. Okay, so that means you basically saved yourself a great deal of work. And so the logo and the slogan that Yellow Pages picked at that time, I don't know if they're still running these ads, is that let your fingers do the walking, right? Don't let your legs do the walking, let your fingers do the walking. And that's the logo, the meaning behind the logo, right? So flipping through the Yellow Pages, book and directory and getting to. So likewise with computer science, what we do is you have an array and don't let the CPU do the walking through the array. You can let your math do the walking, your mind do the walking, and say, well, I don't have to go there. I can just calculate the hypotenuse, right? The hypotenuse is the square root of a squared plus b squared. Well, yeah, that's not what we're going to do with arrays, right? But with arrays, we're going to say, I want to go there. So basically, all I need to do is, what is my current address from the address of the first element? I'm going to add 32, and I get to the 9th element. Does that make sense? So that is a power of arrays. Now, and so of course, I mean, you can say, I want to get me the 9th element, and the computer takes that much time to walk through. It's going to be a pain. But fortunately, the way the architecture of the computer works is that if you ask for a direct memory location like that, it'll give it to you in constant time, right? No matter whether your computer has a trillion bytes of memory, even if it has a trillion bytes of memory, and you say, I want the contents of a memory location of 65,407,000,000. Okay, it'll give it to you like that, bam. So getting data from a particular location in memory is like super duper fast. The computer, the architecture, the hardware has been optimized for that for ages. Okay, so we can leverage that fact and the fact that we don't have to walk because we can directly calculate the address. That is the power of the array. So is everybody on the same page? That is why we need arrays. If you don't have that property, we can use linked lists with this a whole lot of structures you can iterate through. But that's so constant time access. It is called constant time access, and that is what Will was referring to. The time to access an element is not dependent on n. O of n is basically the time to get the element is proportional to the number of elements before it. That's bad. Okay. Whereas with arrays, the time to get an element is always constant, no matter how many elements are before it. That is the sheer power of arrays, and you're going to be using arrays endlessly from now on. Okay, so well, let's do something very simple now. Hey, Sadvik, what we'll do is that we want to create, don't code it now, you're going to code it. Okay, I'm not going to talk you through the code now because we're going to be writing simple functions. I just describe what we need to do and then you code it with your classmates. How about that? Is that okay? Right, I'll be here and I'll be here to help you out if you guys get stuck or not. But you have a lot of classmates here. Everybody is actually eager to code. So I don't want to be spelling out every single brace and character here because primarily because you guys already know, many of you already know at this point. Okay, so I'll describe what we put that in comments and then you guys can implement what's under the comment. Okay, and the next person will do something similar, or you're going to take this code and take that to the next level and so on. Okay, so let's do, so this let's put an array. All right, I want to do one more thing. Okay, well, just one more thing. It's really not required for 2A, but it is like super duper useful, and also it's simple. Also, it's very simple. There's a built-in vector. There's a built-in array type called vector. Okay, a vector is just an array, except that it is placed in a different location in memory. We won't talk about stacks and heaps and all. You can read about that, and you can ask me questions later on. There's a whole bunch of recorded lectures that from past quarters where I talk about what the difference is between a stack and a heap. Where does a stack and where's a heap and all? No, we're not going to do that again. However, what you can do is what was I saying? So what we'll do is after Sadvik has done this, we'll all right. So what we'll do is I'll describe what the vector is, right? So we'll create another array. So you say vector, vector, and say space array two, right? Now within angle brackets, you're going to say angle brackets. No, that's that's curly. No, it's angle. Angle is less than. We actually have 4 kinds of brackets, right? We have angle brackets, we have square brackets, we have curly brackets, and then we have parentheses. Okay, so you have 4 of those. Okay, so angle bracket. There you're going to say int. Okay, and then you say semicolon after that. Array 2. Okay, all right. Now we put a comment there saying this is also a 10-element vector. Oh, it's not a 10-element vector. Oh, so hang on. Oh, I got the syntax all screwed up. Okay, different languages. Okay, so the syntax is all. Let's fix. I'm sorry, guys. Okay, let's fix up the syntax. So it needs to be vector square, vector angle bracket in, vector angle bracket in. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. Vector angle bracket in space array 2. Array 2, and then put now parentheses 10. Okay, parentheses 10. Okay, now semicolon, and then we'll put a comment there saying this also gives us a 10-element array. But it is on the heap, not the stack. Look up the difference and discuss in the forums or something like that. Okay. It is on the heap, not stack. Okay, on the next line, you can say, put a question, a comment on the next line saying, look up the difference between a heap and stack and discuss in the forums or Reddit. Discuss in the forums. Yeah. Look up the difference. Difference. Look up the difference between between heap and stack and discuss. Okay, and it's going to be useful. What you find out will be very useful later on. Okay, so please do look it up. Okay, so we have these 2 arrays. Now here is the comment that you're going to implement here. We'll say what we want to do is fill up the array with fill up the array with about we'll just say natural numbers for now. Okay, just say fill up the array with 10 natural numbers. Okay. 10 no, it can be 10. Yeah, okay, 10 natural numbers from 1 to 10. Okay, fill up the array with 10 natural numbers from 1 to 10, not 0 to 9. Okay, so the index goes from 0 to 9, but the value in the array goes from 1 to 10. Is that confusing, or do you want to make the values also 0 to 1? No, that's actually, this is better. Okay, for an instructional purpose, I think this is better. Okay, so this is what you're going to do. It's a very simple loop, and maybe Sadvik will do one more before he hands over to the next person. Now, this is something for you guys to do. It's just a simple for loop. Oh, actually, here's what we'll do. We'll make it slightly more complicated. Okay, this is too simple. Yeah, I was thinking this is like too super duper simple. Okay, fill up the array. Yeah, fill up the array with the first. No, not the first. Fill up the array with 10. The first 10 numbers which are not multiples of 2, 3, or 5. Okay, which are not multiples of 2, 3, or 5. Okay, how about that? Okay, that's your task. That is your task. So you can try and if you can bring to bear, you know, some of your math knowledge to say, well, you know what, I can use my math knowledge to find out I can do this with fewer if statements or fewer things. Fine, okay, everything, because like I say, you know, I think every single bit of information you should exploit. And here the information you have is, you know, 2, 3, or 5. Is there a way I can make use of that fact? I don't know if you can, but maybe you have to have 3 different if statements. I don't know how it works. Okay, so you guys do it. How much time do you guys want? Okay, now Sadvik ideally is not going to code. He's just going to be the typing. All right, he's going to type. Someone else is going to call out the code, and Sadvik will type. Is that okay with you, Sadvik? Where is Sadvik gone? I can't even see him now. Yeah, oh, there he is in the middle. Okay, all right. So Sadvik is not going to code. He's just on standby. Someone else is going to call out the code, and hopefully not just one person, right? Multiple people should call out the code. And even if you're one person, you've told something that Sadvik typed in. Try and restrain yourself from not telling the next thing over. So you don't want to be the person who spoke the entire fragment. Okay, so even though it's a small fragment, let's make sure that we give chances to everybody to fill it in, right? This part, this part, this part, so everybody has a chance to do it. Even though you know the answer, right? Any one of you, even though you know what needs to get done, just do a little bit and hand over, just like a relay in a race. Okay, so go ahead and do this. I'm not going to, in fact, I won't even look at it, right? So I won't make you self-conscious by looking at what you type, right? And so I'm just going to be looking at the floor or something. I'll look at my phone maybe, okay? And so complete that and let me know.
I think I would try starting with a while loop. So like while true. So it's like an endless loop so that you have the chance to, I guess, reach the 9th or 10th number in the array. And so like functionally, I guess every single, while true, just capital T, R-U-E, yeah. Oh, I guess it's not capital. And then, yeah, like, then I guess the logic would go in here for each element that would fill up the array, and then probably like go through I and check if it's meets the conditions.
I'm still getting this thing where the vector array thing that he had from earlier is showing up as the error. I don't quite know what the deal with that is. I think it is on your screen too. It's a question for the teacher too, if he's wanting to answer. Okay, I guess not.
Hibernating.
Yeah.
Does anybody know for the while statement, if we wanted, you know, like in a for loop, you have like you declare I and you declare the like maximum number that it would reach. I feel like
I'd probably use a for loop.
Yeah, I'm more
if you're
familiar with
trying
the
to-
for loop, but for a while, don't know how to write and this one.
Okay. The only reason why I thought maybe while would be more appropriate is simply because I wasn't assuming that I would know the answer in advance, right? Because like I guess like in a for loop, I mean you could set it arbitrarily large, but like it, I guess like the most optimized for loop would just be one in which the last number is the number that fills up the last element of the array. So instead I was thinking like making like an I, iterating it so that it goes up each time, but you're guaranteed the last time to break out of the loop.
You could do it after each time you like add something to the array, you can increment that I within the if statement. And then it'll just keep going through the while loop until it hits like 10. So you can say like while your variable is like less than 10. And then you just keep adding it. Like if it doesn't go into the if statement, it'll just skip over that increment and then keep going until it does.
Okay, so maybe let's initialize outside of the while loop an int I. And like I guess call that
Make it equal to 0.
should be equal to 0 to I guess 2 would be the first number, right? Divisible by 2. So I think we could just skip 0 and 1. Should be int I equals 2.
But we're filling it with numbers that are not multiples of 2, 3, or 5, right?
Right. Okay. Missed that. Thank you. So then, yeah, you could make it 0.
I think that means the numbers themselves, we're going through the array of 10 elements. There's a difference. I is like for counting up to 10
Well, I think
elements,
in
not
this case,
numbers,
I is
not
just
the
gonna
numbers
represent the
themselves.
number.
What it means is multiples of 2, 3, or 5. Why see it means is basically the numbers inside the array, not the elements. If that makes any sense, why I said maybe I'm not explaining it the best.
I mean, so like, for example, we know the first 2 elements would be like 0, 1, then skip 2 or 3, 4, skip that, 5, skip that, 6, skip that, 7, you could put 7. So then the first 3 elements would be 0, 1, 7. And then at the same time, if you were to like index to find that thing, that a specific number, it would be like, I guess what's the name of the array, and then like 2, array 2 would get you 7. Right? We're in the same, is that, are we in accordance?
So do you mean for while loop, if we fill the 10 element of the arrays will automatically stop, we don't need a break statement? Do you mean that? I'm a bit confused.
The question is, do we need a break statement?
You said something like there's some advantage for using while loop.
Yeah, I think the advantage is that while loop just this like right now, this statement alone enters an infinite loop. So the only reason why I was thinking this would be like more appropriate for this kind of problem is because like assuming you don't know the answer, then you just want to keep incrementing I to like do the logical test so that you can like reach the largest one and then be done with it, right? Because a for loop, you have a predetermined size for how long it'll iterate. And so for this type of problem, I mean, the most optimized number to iterate would be the largest number I that is not a multiple of 2, 3, or 5. So and when that case gets hit, and with that, the logic would look something like, if like, I don't know, actually I don't know how you would do this, but like you would just check if the like largest value, which in our case would be like the index 9, has a value, then you break and you return the array and the program is done.
Oh, I see. So we don't need to set like a maximum number for the I in while
No,
loop.
not in a while loop. Yeah.
Got it.
So can you just start putting in there like, if it, what do you want it to be when it's true, it's, don't output it, like when it, because I guess you could say when I divided by 2 is not equal to 0, is the remainder is not 0, or I divided by 3, the remainder is not 0, and I divided by 5, the remainder is not 0, then you know that it's not divisible by all 3 of those and you just print it, or is that what you guys were thinking?
Pretty much.
Okay. I think at the
Could you put
top,
them all in one line? Like if I mod 2 not equal to 0, or I mod 3 not equal to 0, or I mod 5 not equal to 0. Is that possible?
I think it is
don't
possible
know
though.
if
Maybe you should use an and statement
Yeah.
instead of a or statement.
But then it would
Because
have
if
to meet
you-
all 3 conditions, right?
Yeah, exactly. Because if you use or, then maybe it won't be divisible by 2, but it'll be divisible by 3. It'll treat it as if it's okay when you want all those conditions.
Guys,
Oh,
I'm pretty
yeah.
sure it says fill up the array with the first 10 numbers, which are not multiples of 2, 3, or 5. I is like you're counting the elements in I. You're not filling up the numbers in I, are you?
I think we are filling up, like we're filling up the array with numbers, and then the numbers are like I is the number that you'll fill the actual index of the array at. So like in the
Yeah.
first iteration,
So why are you trying to determine if like the element is 2, then it's like you don't count it or something like that? That doesn't really make sense.
I don't think we're testing the numbers that correspond to the index of the array to see if they're multiples. I think we're actually looking for the actual numbers in order.
I think what Robert's saying is right though. Maybe would it be smart to put a for loop in, like before it saying for, I or k is equal to 0 as long as k is less than 10, go one at a time, and then do the if statement after, saying you're going to look at 10 elements and then 4 elements where you divide by 2, right? Mod 2, mod 3, mod 5, where they're not multiples, then set that value equal to, set that value that you're getting where it's not a multiple of 10 equal to that element. Because you do want to go through 10, you want to iterate through 10. I don't know exactly how you do it, but I think Robert's onto something with that.
So I think I think the strategy here for iterating through those is that you have I that we initialize right before the comment that says version 1.
Yeah.
And then at the end of this statement, at the end of the if logic, all that kind of stuff, at the very end, you have an I++ line. And what this will do is that now you're checking. So I started at 0. Now you're going to check the next number. And I think, I don't know if I'm missing something, but I feel like.
Oh, wait, I think I see what you're trying to do.
I think
I need to think of, let me think of it. I think,
they're not wrong, not necessarily wrong. It's just that it's not optimized. Is that like a for loop has a predetermined number. And from my understanding of the problem, we are not testing the index numbers themselves to see if they're divisible by, or if they're not multiples of 2, 3, or 5. We're testing like just natural numbers in general. And so like there can be a number that is larger than I guess 10. And then in that case, like you would only have tested up to 10.
You're right. What
And-
I'm doing is testing up to 10, just the numbers that aren't, yeah. No, you're right. You're right. Because we can go over 10. I misread what it is I want to build, but you're right.
So I think now that we're
yeah.
okay.
I was gonna say you should have like a for loop that goes up to 10. So like for int I equals 0, I is less than 10, I plus plus, and then you put the while loop inside that, and it'll just go through the while loop until it adds 1, and then it'll like get out of the while loop and then add 1 to the for loop, if that makes sense.
You could use J, but are we using I or are we using J?
I guess J, because we're using I already. But
Okay.
I don't think it matters.
So say we've already met the condition that like the one in the above if statement, it finds I and I meets all of those conditions. Now, how do we put I in the index of that array?
You do array bracket I. Or array bracket J. So like whatever is the for loop, that's our like iterator. There's like 2 variables. I think it would be like easier
that's
to
true. I think we need two variables. That's true.
You have one to like signify which one is the like the position in the array, and then you need one for the value itself.
Why don't we just take this code and do
So
what
maybe we like,
they were saying before
sorry.
and put it in the for loop?
I think maybe we can like add a for loop inside while loop because we need 2 variables. One is I, another is J.
I also think in the if statement, since I is like the index, it has to be array brackets I divisible like module 2, that sort of thing. Because that will give you the element, I believe. Like the number inside the element.
I think the elements are empty right now. I'm not sure because I think we just
Yeah,
specified
they're
a-
empty. Like once we set the elements, we inside the array, I guess. What I'm saying is I is just a number, not the element in like the number inside the array. Once we set the array.
So maybe let's like just establish for clarity what variable is what. I was thinking of I in terms of like an index, and then we can use J, or there's no reason why. Actually, this depends on where what is going to be used for the for loop and what is going to be used like sort of more like generally. But one should be used as an index and the other one should be used just as a number tracker that keeps going higher. So the one is strictly for the for loop and the other one is for the for keeping track of which numbers have been tested.
I think the J inside the for loop is better for the index because we know there are only 10 numbers, but we don't we can use like I in the while loop to like make it number tracker because in that case we don't need to guess what's the largest number would be.
You guys okay? No, are you stuck? Okay, so here's the thing. Whenever you're coding, okay, not just now, whenever you're coding, if you're stuck, just call me, okay? I'm just here. Even if I'm not in front of your camera, I'm gonna be here. Okay, so just call me and I'll come and help. Do you want me to talk you through this code? Yes or no? Okay, good. So I'll do this, and then the next bit you can do. I heard someone mention use a for loop instead of a while loop. Yeah, I think that's a good strategy. Generally, this is a thumb rule that many senior students, and you can check it, Walter, follow, is that for loops are much easier than while loops. And while loops are more prone to errors unless you are a good, already, have a lot of experience. You have a good deal of experience, you can use while loops comfortably. Even then, I know even experienced programmers will prefer to use a for loop whenever they can. And the reason is because in a for loop, all of the things that could potentially cause corner case errors, they're all bunched up together in one place. While loop, they're not in one place. So your eye has to look in multiple places. While technically it is not a problem, cognitively it is a problem, right? Even expert programmers, I find that, if things are in different places and they got to look here, right? The chances of an error just shoot up immensely. So we'll use a for loop. And I can also show you how to do it using a while loop. Now, here's a question for you, okay? Do you want me to do this using a while loop or a for loop? And you can do the other one, okay? I'll do it using one kind of structure and you can do it using the other kind of structure. How about that, okay? We're going to play with arrays and later on we'll try and move this into a function and then this thing happens in a function, okay? So we'll do it that way. So how about this? Do you want me to do it using a for loop or a while loop? Tell me and I'll do it that way.
Definitely while loop.
Do you want me to do it as a while loop?
Oh, hold
Yeah.
on. Couldn't we just
Adam,
break
you're
out
saying
of the
something?
while loop?
Hmm?
Couldn't we
I'd
just break out of
probably
the while loop?
rather
Like
use
a
a for
different
loop.
time?
Okay.
Is a for
I
loop
can show you how to use a while loop. Yeah,
would a for loop be just as optimized though?
they're equally
Um,
optimal.
It's probably more
I think-
optimized.
Yeah,
We're
So-
just trying to get
if-
10 elements
If I could propose a
in this
solution,
program.
can I? Yeah.
I
Can I
I
also?
suggest we once we get to 10, we keep track of the number of things we put into the array. And once we get to 10 things we put into the array, we break out of the loop. So like, we have our condition of like, is it divisible by 2, 3, or 5? And inside that, we add it to the array, increment the whatever counter we're using to keep track of the size of, or however many things we put into it. And I'm sorry, it's really hard to talk because I can hear Nemo's computer at the same time and it's like messing up my brain. And then if after we've incremented the size of the array, then check if that size is big enough to stop. And then if it is, just the command break with no capital, just a lowercase break and the semicolon, and that'll kick us out of the while loop. And that should do it.
Professor,
Yeah.
like I think I understand where like Adam's solution is coming from, and I think like the way I was thinking about it was just that in a while loop, since you like assuming you don't know the number, the largest number that would go into the last element of the array, how would a for loop be just as optimized in terms of like how many times it iterates? Does that question make sense?
Yes.
Professor, can I
Yes.
suggest a max number of the loop?
Totally, you can. You can.
So you're wondering whether or not we can find the max number for like the loop thing. Well, since we are filling it with 10 first number, let's just say what is the biggest number for like, 10 biggest number that cannot be divided by 2, 3, or 5. So let's just say the biggest number is 5, right? So let's just say 5 times 10 is 50. And 50 is like bigger than what, like 3 times 10, which is 30. So let's just say that 50 is like the biggest number, and then we loop through it. And then once we got 10, we just break the loop. Right?
Was that intended, that was intended for me or just for class?
For the class. For the class.
Okay, so I can actually see that all of you are tossing around methods. Every one of those I have tried, right? So none of those is wrong, because I've tried every single one, and I've done it in different ways. And eventually I decided to do it in a particular way. And that's what I'm going to show you now. But obviously you should try it in all these ways and see which one is better, which one works for a particular situation, right? I can show you that. We'll do it using a while loop initially, like we said, okay? So when you're filling in an array, the most important thing with an array, when you're dealing with arrays, here's the critically important thing is you never ever step outside the bounds of the array. So the array is a super duper fantastic structure, but it tells you you can use me, except never step outside, okay, of my bounds. You don't don't try to access array of 10, which is actually the 11th element, right? 0 to 9 are the 10 elements. If your access array of 10, the program will crash, because the operating system will say, wow, this guy actually accessed something that didn't belong to him or her, okay? He's gonna kill that program. So, or, access elements, well, you can't access a -1, okay? So you can't access out of bounds. So, this is what we'll do. So that has got to be whenever we're dealing with arrays, that has got to be somehow folded into your condition with working with loops and everything. So what we'll do is go to the code and we'll start putting together a while loop. Are you going to do version 3 there? Okay, all right. So here's what we want to do. So let's say, because you're going to iterate through the array, we'll say size t I equals 0. Okay, that is going to be the index that we're going to assign to, right? Size t I equals 0. Size t I equals 0. I equals 0, right? And then put a comment on the same line. Yeah, that's right. You had the word index. I'm using the word I guess, right? So this is going to be the index of the array, which is assigned to, right? So type in index of the array to which we assign. Index of the array to which, well, we're not assigning to the index. At index of the array into which we'll assign, no, you just have to change the word to into. We will assign. Well, yeah, we're going to assign. Okay. Right. On the next line, you say int n equals 0. Right? We're going to have 2 variables, and this will actually simplify things a great deal for us. Okay. And and put a comment there saying this is the value that actually goes inside of the array. inside each cell. This is the value that goes inside each cell. Okay, so on the next line, you're going to say while I is less than 10, because you want to iterate from 0 up to 9. Yes. So when we do that loop like that, we can instantly be sure that it is never ever going to access something out of bounds, right? So when you are instantly, when you have just got that out of your mind, you'll find that you're thinking about the problem is a whole lot easier, because until you get that out of your way, that big sword is hanging over your head. You can't think clearly. What if I do something that basically crashes the program? What if I assign something out of the array, right? So with that hanging over your head, I have seen no programmer write decent code. Okay, so you got to get these dangerous things out of your way first. And so within that loop, you know you're safe. Yes or no? Right? You can access the array, to your heart's content within the array. Well, can you make it a little more pretty? Put a space before the opening brace. Put a space before the opening brace. And also around the operators too will be nice. Not before the I, but around the operators and before the opening brace. Yeah, that will look
Quick
much better.
question.
Yeah.
And like other languages use like while like I is less than like length of the array or whatever. Like, can we do that in this or no?
Very good
Like
question.
if we want
Who
to use
asked
it
that
for a
question, by the
function,
way?
if we
I
want to
was
use it for a
looking.
function, if you want to use it for
well,
like a function where we apply it to like other arrays, but
That's a very good question.
not,
Okay,
yeah.
very good question, because arrays are so fundamental that in other languages you just basically have vector. You don't have native arrays. You basically have vector and it's given to you, bam, like that. And even if you use it like an array, it's like a vector. However, in C++, because it came from C and all, in original C there were no vectors. Okay, there were only arrays. You could only use arrays. And if you have an array, the C++ and C arrays are so thin, okay? So thin, it only gives you what you want. It doesn't store any extra information. So thin and so efficient and perfect, right? So that means that when you get an array, all you get in C++ is a memory address, just a memory address, right? It says, here's a memory address where you have 10 integers in a sequence. It doesn't tell you how many integers there are. So it just gives you the memory address. However, a vector is a more sophisticated form of an array, which now, in Python, all these other languages, JavaScript, they actually have a vector, not an array. Okay, so in all these other languages, they say, well, you know what? If I just give them the native array memory address, those guys are going to struggle with finding the end, and there's lots of errors happening. So what we'll do is give them an array which also knows what its size is. Okay, so they created a special class called a vector, which you'll be doing right after week 6. You're going to be doing things like that. You'll create a class, and it's got the array inside of it, but also an integer field that stores the length of the array, so that you can say, hey, vector, what is your length? And it'll tell you. But you can't say, hey, array, what's your length? Because an array is just a memory address. Does that make sense? So
yeah.
So in fact, above line 56, put a comment, and then we'll say, if we were using vectors, no, below, right? Below line 60, below line 60, open a block, below line 60, right? So put a comment there saying there's one more blank line, one more blank line and then a comment. You got an opening comment there. Get rid of the opening comment, put the comment, because it's going to be a separate, no, I mean a blank line before the comment itself. Thank you, right? So, and say, this addresses Will's question in class. Okay, this addresses Will's question in class. Can you get the length automatically instead of putting in a number like 10, right? Will's question in class. And on the next line, you can say, can you get the length of the array automatically instead of putting it in like that, in like 10? Can you get the length of the array automatically instead of putting in a number like 10? Okay, so on the next line, you can say yes. On the next line, you can say yes. Yes. In that case, we can use a vector instead of an array. And that would go like, and then we'll do the code for that. Okay. That would be like, yeah, well, all right. You can, yeah, just go. You don't even need that. Okay, all right. Go like, that goes like, okay. So on the next line, you would say for, you can say while I is less than array2 dot length. Okay, array2 dot size, array2 dot size. So yeah, Will, you said dot length like in Java and JavaScript and Python.
Yeah.
Here it's called dot size. Yeah, and put a space before the brace also. It's a good, no, not there, the other one. Okay, all right. So and you can comment that out. You can comment the whole while loop out. This is just to say, you know, this is what you do if you want to do what Will wanted. Yeah. Does that make sense, everybody? We're not doing it that way. We're going to do it with native arrays. All right. So now let's go back to the original loop. Right. Yeah, line 57. And here, all we're going to do is if n percent, what are the two numbers? What are the three numbers? 2, 3, and 5. Prime numbers. Yeah, 2, 3, 5. Yeah. Okay. If n percent 2 equals 0, or if n percent 3 equals 0. Yeah, sorry. Thank you. I said something wrong, and then Sadvik actually wrote the right thing there. Okay, so or no, not and. It's got to be or. Okay, right, and then or n percent 5 equals 0. Now we're using or and not and I'll give you a few minutes after this thing to just talk about why it is or and not and whether you can, right? If you use and, the structure will be slightly different. It'll work, but the structure will be different. Okay, so if it is not a multiple of these three, put a space before the opening brace. Also put a space before the opening brace. Yeah. Okay, if it is not a multiple of those three, we want to put it in the array. Yes or no? Right. So so inside of the then condition, if it'll only get inside the while, it'll only get inside the if statement if it is not a multiple of the three. Right. If only if it is not a multiple of 2, 3, and 5, it will be inside the if statement. Or is everybody in agreement with that? All right. So here, all we're going to do is say array square bracket I plus plus equals n plus plus. Okay. Now get rid of the blank line before, and you can even get rid of the braces because that's all we need. Right, get rid of the braces, and then get rid of the blank line before that. Okay, that's it. Now blank line also can go. All right, that's it. So I is less than 10. Okay, if it's not one of those, it puts it in, and then increment I and increment n and the next number. Okay, and then okay, I think that should work. Okay, now before we actually run it, well, let's say we want to put another loop there after that to print out the values. Okay, so this is going to be in your hands. Okay, so after this while loop, put another while loop there. Comment, right? Put a comment there. How about this? Right? We want to write a function that will print out the values in an array. Okay, so call a function. Put a comment there saying call a function that will print out the contents of a given array. Yeah. So what we want to do there is call a function, and we're going to create this function. We're going to create this function up there. Okay. So on the next line, you can say, on the next line, you can say print. No, not a comment. You can say print contents, print underscore contents, print underscore array contents. All right. Well, contents is fine. Okay. And the first parameter is going to be array, and the second parameter is 10 because you're passing a memory address. The function will not know how big the array is. Yes, it's only going to get a memory address. So whenever you pass an array, you also got to pass it the length of the array. However, this is not an issue if you use a vector. If you use a vector, you can just pass the vector and the function can say, hey vector, what's your size? But with an array, the function can't say, hey array, what's your size? Okay, so you got to pass the length too, right? So you guys, it's second parameter, comma 10. Okay, and you can put a comment on that line. The 10 is necessary because the function. No. That's a function call. We need that function. Yeah, we need that function. A comment on the right side after the semicolon. Okay. And you can say 10. The 10 is necessary because, an array does not know its own size. Right? Unlike a vector, right? So you can say unlike a vector too. I don't know if, yeah. Okay. All right. Now let's clean up a bit. Get rid of line, get rid of line 60 because we don't need line 60. Blank line. And here's another very tricky cleanup. And strictly speaking, you shouldn't be doing that. But I'm showing it to you just because it can be done and it is okay, right? Because the while loop has only one statement inside of it. Even the while loop does not need braces. So you can get rid of the braces around the while loop too. And then you can get rid of the blank line there. Okay, all right. So because the while loop has only one statement, it doesn't need braces. The if statement is what belongs to the while. Okay, and if statement also doesn't has only one statement inside of it, then okay, even that doesn't. So no braces at all. Okay, so that is a complete loop with a branching statement inside of it. Okay, with conditionals and everything. Right. So now, so you can clean up the blank lines after print, and then we'll implement the function. Okay. Yeah, clean up one more. Okay. Now go above main, and we'll define that function. Okay, we'll define the function above main. So this function is going to be void. It won't return anything. Void. Okay. Print. Print contents, and it's going to get two things. And the first parameter is going to be an array. The first parameter is an array. And you're going to say, you don't have to call it array. You can call it ARR here, just to make it very clear to people following the video that they don't have to be the same names. That's all. Okay, array, and then you got to tell the compiler what the type of array is. So you go to the before the A, and you say int. Okay, and then after the A, you're going to put square brackets, empty square brackets. Okay, that tells the compiler that the first parameter is an array. It's an address to a sequence of integers. Okay, and the second one, yeah. Okay, and the second parameter is going to be num elements, and that's going to be size t, right? Size t num elements. Num elements, no elements, not elem, right? Num underscore elements, ELEMS, elements, num elements. ELEMS, right? Elements. Okay, all right, good. Now, so get rid of the semicolon at the end because we're going to define the function there. Instead of the semicolon, all right, okay, I put a space and a brace, So get into the habit of always putting I don't know, I shouldn't say that because it's your style, but it would be useful, I think, right? So yeah, enter, and then close the brace. All right, now inside the function, let's put a comment above the function and above the function, yeah, blank line, and yeah. So this should print out the contents of the given array. Up to num elements in the following format. Okay, in the following format. Okay, on the next line, you're going to say the format in which you're going to print it out. Okay, on the next line, you're going to say tab first. Okay, tab or 4 spaces or whatever it is. You know, tab four spaces in. You got to indent 4 spaces, right? And now you're going to say ARRAY or whatever it is. Yeah? Array square bracket. Yeah, it's a square bracket. What's gone? What's happening? Sadvik, you're frozen. Sadvik, your internet is gone, is it? Sadvik, can you hear me? Wow, he's gone. Has anybody else been following along the code and already have this code with in a browser like Darshana? Darshana was already coding what we were doing on screen, so she could take over instantly. Is there anybody else like that? Or even Darshana, right? Anybody who's been coding along, can you take over? Because Sadvik lost his internet. He told me this morning that his internet was flaky. He just disappeared.
Sorry,
Darshana, do you have the code?
No, my
Is that you,
internet's
Darshana?
like a little bit unstable. Yeah, it is. It's
Okay,
kind of
so yeah, I think
unstable for me also. I haven't been. I can't. I wasn't following along like coding.
okay. So
Sorry.
anybody that doesn't have to be Darshana because you also volunteered yesterday. I know on Tuesday, Thursday. So does anybody else want to take over that code? And in fact, you don't have to have a that code. We can fill it in, right? We can fill it in even if there's a few things missing. That's fine. Can someone pick up the screen and then open a browser and hopefully have the same code? If not, we'll just do it, right? It shouldn't take more than a few minutes, right?
I've been doing it on the
Andrew.
browser, but I have been doing it in VS Code.
No, browser is fine. This is just a simple program. So you can just
Okay, I'll copy and paste it.
Yeah, thanks.
Professor,
Yeah.
so why do in this case we have to use a vector per se and not specifically, just the array itself? Why do we also need the size here?
Mark, your question is why don't we use a vector?
I'm saying, why do we have to use a vector instead of just the array itself? Why do we have to specify the size again?
Oh, a vector is a class for which you don't need to explicitly say this vector has got 10 elements, 15 elements, 20 elements, because the vector already knows its size. So to get the size of the vector,
Right.
you just say, hey, vector, what's your size? And to get the vector size, you say dot size.
Right. My question is why do we need its size?
Oh, we know it. We need its size because we have to iterate that many times through the vector. If there's 10 elements, we want to go 10 elements in, right? We need to know how many elements to
Oh.
put in the vector. Yeah, that's why we need
Well,
to know the size.
Can't you just do a for loop then instead of a while loop? And
You
then
can,
we'll iterate through it?
but even if you do the for loop, how would you know the size of the vector?
Well, I guess you wouldn't. You could count through I and see how big I is, maybe.
No, even if you count through I, how do you know how when to stop? How big is the vector that's given to me? How do you know?
I think you wouldn't.
No, right? Yes, because if it's a native array, you won't know the size. You need to. So even if it's a vector, until you ask the vector how big you are, we won't know the size.
But isn't a for loop supposed to know how big the array is when it's going through it?
No, the for loop will go as long as you want it to go. Even if you're filling in an array which only has 10 spots in it, but you have a for loop that goes for 100, it'll try and fill in the 100 elements into the array, and after the 10th element is going to crash because it says, oh, the array was
Oh,
full
I
and I
see.
tried. Yeah, so you need to know the size. That's why you're using dot size.
Okay, thank you.
Does it make sense? Okay, great.
it does.
Okay, all right, thanks.
Ludwig is
all right.
back. Should I share screen or should he do it?
You were already sharing screen. Whose is this, by the way? Is this Andrew's?
Oh, that's not mine.
Andrew, is this your code?
No, that's not mine. That's someone else's.
That's mine. Sadhuk.
Oh, Sadhuk, you came back.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we thought you left. Okay. All right. Okay, cool. No worries. I thought it was Andrew's code. Okay. All right. So and then the format is ARR square bracket I, a square bracket, just say capital X. Okay. Equals capital Y. Right? On the next line, you can say Y, capital Y. On the next line, you'd say one more comment. Well, where X and Y are replaced with the correct values. Okay, so that's what you need to do. Is the problem statement clear enough? That's all you have to do, right? It shouldn't take you more than about 5 minutes, I think. It could take longer, don't worry. Okay, but I'm guessing it won't take you more than 5 minutes. That's all you have to do, right? This has basically got to do a print of 10 lines, or not 10 lines, how many num elements lines? It's got to print num element lines, and each line has got to say array square ARR square bracket and then a number equals another number. So that's all it's got to do. Yes, it's very simple, isn't it? And here you don't have to do any math. Also, you don't have to do %2, %3, find the remainder. You don't have to do any of that shit. Okay, you just have to say, I got an array, I got to print them out one line at a time. Right? So who wants to do this? Okay, again, just like last time, Sadhvik will type, and someone else, you guys should feel free to code. Okay, so and then after this is done, what time is it? 9:32. So that way we may have a bit of time. What I'll do is introduce another small concept, which we'll carry on and talk about next class also. It's called passing a parameter by reference versus copy, right? This and then this is three things. Even if I forget, remind me on Thursday. Okay, three things we need to cover on Thursday, and which partly we may cover also today if we have time. We need to cover with functions. We need to cover how to pass by reference versus pass by copy or value. It's two different things. So super duper useful power. It's a great power that you only C++ programmers get. Okay, in Java and other languages you can do it, but it's kind of roundabout. Okay, it's not as clean and neat and nice as you do it in C++. So passing by reference and passing by copy, two different ways of passing parameters. Okay, and it's only available in C++, and I'll show you how to do that next class, not today. And the other thing is static variables. Okay, static variables inside of functions is another cool feature that came from C. Okay, I don't think, well, maybe Java also has static variables. It's such a long time since I programmed Java. I forgot. Does anybody here know Java? Does Java have static variables inside of functions?
It does, yeah.
So Java also has static.
Definitely.
So thank you. Right. So we'll use static variables. So next class we'll use static. I'll show you about static variables and passing by reference and copy. I think those are the only things we need to know for functions and arrays in order to be able to do some really cool stuff after that. Okay. So we'll do that. All right. So here, that's it. I think. Right. Do you guys want to do it? 5 minutes? 5 minutes? It's 9:32. Maybe by 9:37, you guys are done. Yes? Yes or no? If you guys are okay, in fact, I will turn the laptop around for 5 minutes and, I'll be here. I'll be here. Just call me. Okay. Just call me if you need any help. Just 2 lines, 2 or 3 lines, 2 or 3 lines of code. Just fill it in, print it out. And in fact, it should be ready to run. It should be ready to run after that. You run it and see if you get the result. And then I'll take it. I'll step in one more time after that. And, what's it going to do?
Isn't it just like for int I less than num elements? Yeah, I plus per. Then just C out. Array, and then within that, I or R do AR instead of array. Just like what's in our parameters for the function. Yeah, perfect. I, and then endl, I guess, or I don't know if we're doing inline, but yeah, you could do inline or not. I think it's literally just that. Yeah. I think we're done, Professor.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Let me take a look. No. It's got to be exactly like that comment up there. It's got to say ARR square bracket. And then inside you got to say ARR 0 equals 0. ARR square bracket 1 equals 1. ARR square bracket 2 equals 3. It's got to be 4. Okay? ARR square bracket 2 equals 4. No, it can't be 4. It can be 5. It can be 6. It can be 7. It can be 7. All right. It can be 7. Okay. Array of 4 should be 7. Okay. So you got to do that. Mark, you got a question.
Yeah, I know in Python, in order to iterate through the index instead of through the elements, you do range length of the list, which is basically generates numbers in the range of the list, like depends on how big the list is. So is there this option here instead of just doing I smaller than?
No, so that is available in some higher level languages like Python I don't
Mhm.
even know if, yeah, actually there is, if you use, right, okay, there is a way to do that. If you use vectors, okay, if you use vectors,
Right.
vectors comes loaded with lots and lots of features. Because in
Mhm.
vectors, you can say, I want to step through every element in the array, in the vector, and it'll do that for you, right? Arrays are so thin, doesn't give you any of those. Okay, you got to go and do everything. And programmers like arrays in many cases because it is so thin.
They're
you can be
immutable.
sure. No fluff at all. Yeah, sorry.
You're saying is that because they're immutable, so it's easier to know what they have, like they're not dynamic?
I got most of what you said. Just the first sentence. It's easier because what?
They're immutable.
Oh, no. It's not about being mutable or immutable. It is. It's basically because when you get given an array, you just get given a number. Oh yeah, the reason why programmers like this is because, strictly speaking, most programmers don't care whether it's a vector or an array. Most of the time, 99% of the time, swap it because they're both exactly the same. But in some cases, very rare cases, when storage and things like that are at a premium, so I know programmers who prefer to use an array when they know they can use a vector because vector has overhead associated with it. It stores the length and stores these things, right? Extra bits, just to make the life of the programmer easier. But they know, all right, yeah, it was easy during development. Now it doesn't need to be easy, it just needs to be fast. Now I'll change all the vectors into, right? That kind of thing. That's the
Right.
reasoning, Mark. Yeah. It's
Right, but
basically just
there's
because,
no function per se to like find the length of the list, just define a vector and get its length, right?
yeah, with a vector you can, but not with an array.
Okay, thank you.
If it was a vector, you can just say dot size. Hey, if it was a vector, you can just say dot size. Right. All right. So yeah, it's got to say that, by the way. All right. It's got to say whatever is on line 13. That's what it's got to say. It's got to say letter A. First of all, it's got to have 4 spaces. Every line has got to have 4 spaces. Then A, R, R. Then it has to have a square bracket. Then it has to have a number inside the square bracket. And then a closing square bracket. And then it has to have equals. And then it has to have the value that went in that cell. Okay. So all of those things need to be on each line. And there's got to be 10 lines like that. Yes. Can you guys do that? All right. So do that. And obviously it shouldn't just be Sadly. Anyone should feel free to call the code out and they should, or fix the code that's already there and it should be ready to go. Okay. It should be ready to go after that. You should be able to print it and run it too, and it'll work. If you run it now, it'll just print the numbers. It won't print the, what the format that I wanted, right? So I said, as a customer, I'm your customer, right? I said, well,
Yeah.
I want a program that'll print it that particular format. It didn't print it according to the format the customer wanted. It just printed those numbers. You run it now. You can run it now, and you can see. No. Get rid of the equals and run it now. Run it now. It'll run. It'll just print the values of the numbers. That's all, one after another.
Yeah, I know to switch side and pay attention to the formatting.
Can you print contents when you call the array like that, there you don't need the square brackets there. You don't need square brackets for when you call the function. When you call the function, you don't need square brackets. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, right. And what else? I think that's basically it. You know what you should do, I think, is also clean up your code so that there's less. Go right to the top of the file. If you ever use vector, you need to hash include vector at the top too. Right at the top, hash include. After that, you say hash include vector, and you can put a comment on the right saying you only need this if you're using vectors. Only need this, if you're using vectors. Okay, so if you run it now,
You forgot
did you
a
get?
bracket.
Oh, you didn't have any.
Forgot.
Yeah, I thought so. Yeah. Okay, good. Close it. Yeah, I would say also clean it up so that you've got a lot of code that is commented out. This is actually a very small program, right? It's that much, but it's got so big because there's a lot of commented code. Just clean up all the commented code. Just get rid of all the commented code. It'll be cleaner. And it's a recording, so people can watch the recording to see what the. And you can get rid of line 34. I think that comment is not necessary anymore. Oh no, that comment. Where did that comment go? Where did the for loop? Where's our loop that fills in the values? Hey, what happened to our loop? No, that's a loop that prints the values out. Where's the loop that fills the values in? Oh, you commented it out. You commented out the code that I was, we finally did. Yeah, that one, line 57. Because that's the code we want, right? Cleaner, okay. Yeah, you can get rid of that too, because now we know, right? This you can also get rid of this addresses Will's question and all. So it's all in the recording so people can see it. Is that it? That's it, right? So it's a very short program, essentially. You should be able to run it now, and I think it will print numbers. Why is it not printing anything? Kill it. Oh, of course. Oh wow. Okay. I got a bug there that nobody. I didn't pick it up, and nobody picked it up either. It's just going to keep on incrementing. It's going to be in that infinite loop because I never got incremented. I only gets incremented inside the if statement, and it never got into the if statement. So it never incremented I at all. So what we need to do is, get rid of the plus plus and n plus plus. The plus plus after n and after I, and let's put them on separate statements below, right? Here. And just n, and then also I also do I also like that. No, I plus plus also should be I. I plus plus should just be I. No, not there. The one above on the one above on line 53 should just be I, not I plus plus. Array square bracket I equals n. All right, and then now we actually need to close the while, right? Close the while, and also there's a missing space before the opening brace of the while statement, right? So now after that if statement on the next line, you're going to say I plus plus there, I plus plus. Wait a sec. Now we got to run the corner case in our head to make sure that it'll all work correctly. So everybody run this in your head and make sure that we're not skipping anything incorrectly, and it will do the right thing, okay? So I less than 10, it goes with I equals 0. Look, I'm just running it in my head. You should be doing exactly the same thing, okay? It goes in with I equals 0, and then if the number didn't get assigned, it's just go I plus plus, okay? And then it'll keep doing that until it gets to a number that it can assign. So I think, so where you have array of I equals n, that n can be n plus plus, or that n can be n plus plus. When you assign an n, it goes to the next n. Yeah. Okay. Now I think if you run this, it will actually work. See, and this is a real life example of what I told you before, right? You could have a lot of experience. Yeah, well, we'll fix that. Okay. You can have a lot of experience, and even then, you could have a simple error like this throw you completely off track. This is a for statement or a loop that didn't end, and it was a while loop. If it was a for, we wouldn't have had this problem. Okay, it's because of a while loop that we got stuck there. Okay, now let's look at the output and see what the problem was, and we'll try and fix it. Is that the only output you got? You should have got 10 numbers. You didn't get 10 numbers? No. Your output window should have 10 numbers in there. No, it's too small. There's numbers above that too, Sadvik. No, Advik, Sadvik. There's numbers. Increase the size of the output. Yeah. There's numbers above that too. Is that all? Is that all the numbers you have? I think no numbers above the 0. Okay, so how many numbers do we have? Do we have 10 numbers there? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yeah, we have 10 numbers, but we have junk in there. Yes, we have junk in the 10 numbers. We have 10 numbers, but we have junk in the 10 numbers. Yes or no? So far, are we in agreement? Okay, good. So we need to figure out why there's junk in the 10 numbers. So what we'll do here is we're going to debug it by go to that function that you had. Go to the function you had. Just copy that for statement. Just copy the for statement. Copy that. Don't you just copy it. Okay, copy that and go to your main, We're just simplifying things. We're simplifying things so that we get to the error quickly, right? Now put that for statement after the while, no, before the print, right? Because we don't want to call the function now. We'll just print it right here in main, right? Enter. Yeah, put the for statement there. Okay, now change array ARR to array, ARR to array. Okay, good. Wait a sec. Oh, and then for num,
We
instead
should
of
make
num elements,
size, right? Yeah.
yeah, num elements to 10, right? Num elements to 10. 2 clicks, I think. Yeah, all right. Now, why was it printing junk? %2. Oh, of course. Hey, you know what? There is still a bug. There is still a. In my logic was totally screwed up in that loop. Now, I will give extra credit to anyone who can fix that logic in the while loop. The while loop logic is actually flawed. Okay, the logic that I have for filling in the numbers there is actually wrong. So if someone can fix that, if you, I can give you 1 minute. Okay. Yeah. All right. Go ahead.
It needs to be and.
Sorry.
Needs to be and statements. So it's be the modulo has to be equal to 0, and modulo of 2 has to be equal to 0. Modulo 3 modulo of n3 has to be 0. They all have to be switch the or statements to and statements.
I think also it should be that they should not be equal to 0, right?
Yeah.
Well, it's fine like this.
All right. I'm going to simplify this in the interest of time. I'm going to simplify the structure that I originally gave you, and then you can talk about this later in the forum, or we can pick this up again. So here's what we're going to do. All right, so it's different structure. We're going back to the structure that you guys originally put in, which is while true. Okay, we're going to do while true. Let's go above the while loop. We'll do a while true loop, right? Above the while loop, so we're going to do while true. Okay, and then open, yeah, space, and then yeah, space and a brace, a space brace. Yeah, right. So now you're going to say if n percent. Well, basically you need that. Okay, you need that statement 55 to 56. Copy 55 to 56 and put it in there. No. Just you don't need what you had before. Just get rid of what you had before. Yeah, there you go. Put your if statement there. Right. And now what you're going to do is, yeah. So now you can. Oh yeah. So you can do I plus plus there. Array of I plus plus. Array of I plus plus. Array square bracket I plus plus. Okay, on the next line, you're going to say back 4 spaces. 4 spaces back. Yeah, you can say I plus plus. Oh, hang on. No, if I equals 10, if I equals 10, break. Okay, if I equals 10, break. If I equals 10, break. Or greater than 10, right? Greater than 9 or greater than or equal to 10. Is greater than or equal to is safer than just equals 10, right? Greater than or equal to 10. Now, wait a sec. Again, we need this corner conditions here, and we need to make sure that we are not while true if n%2 equals 0, n%3 equals 0, n%5 equals 0, or y plus plus equals 10 plus plus. So it's greater than equals 10. Great. All right. Now, even this is not going to work, okay? Because I can look at it and see there is a bug there. There's a corner case that is not working. And in my mind, it's not working. Okay, so you guys can figure this out too. And again, it's such a simple thing, such a simple thing, and I'm getting stuck here. Yes, which means that even a professor is getting stuck on simple fragments, which should be very reassuring to you guys, hopefully, right? So let me see now, and this is a problem I have with infinite loops and things like that. That's why I always try to use for loops and things that are guarded most of the time. So while true, increment. Oh, yeah. What you need to do is, yeah. All right. Get rid of the, yeah. Unfortunately, we have to have two loops, okay? We have to have two loops. I'm going to do this with using two loops, okay? And that's the only way I can think of right now. If you can do it using one loop, please share the code in the forums, and it will be a very enlightening discussion for all of us, okay? So here's what we're going to do. Inside of here, you're going to say, while array of right, because we're using two loops, we'll just go back to the original. The top while loop should just be make the top while loop just a for loop. For I equals 0, I is less than 10, I plus plus. Yeah, thank you. I can't believe I got this. You need size t and all. Size t I equals 0. Yeah, you can get rid of the for size t there. Yeah, that one. We don't need that. No, we need n equals 0. Yeah, there you go. Yeah, for size t I equals 0.
Professor,
I less than 10.
I've got an in-person class. I gotta go.
Adam, thank you. All right, but you can check the video later, or you can check the forums, and someone will post the fixed code too, right? So thank you for sticking around. Yeah, go back. We'll wrap this up and then we'll end this class. Okay. All right. Are you where is this? Where are you coding? No, go back to the place where you're coding. Yeah. Okay. So you got that? Okay. So inside of the for loop, you're going to say while n percent 2 equals 0, or n% 5 equals 0, or n% 3 equals 0. Yeah, n% 3 and n% 3 and n% 5 equals 0. On the next line. No, you only have 3. 2, 3, and 5. Oh, 3 and 5. 2, 3, and 5. N% 2, n% 3. The second one is n% 2. Yeah, all right. 2, 3. All right. Excellent. And then you don't have the trailing. Yeah, there you go. Right. And this is empty space. There's a space there. Get rid of the space too. On the next line, you're just going to say n++. On the next line, you're going to say n++. No, get rid of the space. Yeah, tab in, and say n++. N++. Okay. The semicolon, enter. Get rid of the if statement you have after that. Get rid of the if statement. Yeah, you can get rid of all of that. And there you can basically say array square bracket I++ equals n. It's not part of the while. It needs to be outside of the while. Yeah, and semicolon, n semicolon, n semicolon. Now, is everything clean here? Yeah, okay. I think that's good. Now get rid of lines 59 to 68 and all. That's all cluttering up our code, I think. No, not that one. No, 65. No, not 60. 65. We need the output. Up to 65. Not now. We need the for statement. Okay. Great. Okay. All right. Now, if you run this, I am pretty sure you'll get 10 of the numbers that we want. Again, there's a bug. Why is there a bug here? I can't figure it out right here. Looking at.
Could it be the I++ in line 54? Is that still necessary?
Where is the I++ in line? Oh, yeah. Just was it Walter? Hey, Walter, yeah. Thank you for looking out for me here. Okay, all right, okay, yeah, no I++ there. Sorry. Okay, you got all I++ is now in the for loop. Okay, all right.
Yeah, I was wondering the same thing. Like, why is there an I++?
Thank you, Robert. Thank you.
Why is there I++?
Students to the rescue, right? Well, anyway, we got a lot, we got one step further, but it's still printing all once. There's a bug, okay? This is still printing all once, and that the reason for that is because it's not incrementing n. It's not incrementing n. Oh, all right, okay. Well, the bug is actually so simple, and I don't know whether I should fix it now or you guys. I can. Okay, if I want, I can leave this with you to fix. How about this? This is a very simple bug. It shouldn't take you no more than 5 minutes to fix. It is n is not being incremented. N is not being incremented. Yes, it only gets incremented inside the while loop. And if it's not a multiple, if it doesn't get into the while loop, n never gets incremented, I think. Yes, yeah, okay. So that's all you have to figure out. You got to figure out a way in which you can restructure that to make sure that n gets incremented and gets assigned. Okay, that's all. If we can do it now in class, if enough of you are planning to stick around. Otherwise, if you want to do it yourself, let me know. All right. If you want me to do it, I can help you right now, and we can do it. Maybe do it with more bugs with my involvement. Okay. So, but absolutely, that one bug needs to be fixed, and it's good to go. And then you can just take that for statement, put it in your function, and then change the function to print it out in that format using square bracket. Open a quote and say ARR and that stuff. Okay. So why is n not being incremented? Okay. So that's the one thing you have to figure out. Do you want to do it now? I can stick around, or do you guys want to do it on your own and share the code? Because sometimes we say do this and share the code. Very rarely. In the beginning, Samir and a few people shared code, but you stopped sharing the code on the Reddit. The links to these code, the programs that you're creating. If you share it in the Reddit, other people will actually have a chance to look at it and also pick up these things. So do you want to fix it by changing or making sure that the n is always going to get incremented? So the one thing you can do is basically just stick in an n++ right at the top of the for loop, right? Immediately after entering the for loop, just put an n++ right there. No, immediately after entering the for loop, you just say n++. Because you know that the previous n has been assigned and you started n at 0, okay? So the first time inside the loop, it's going to be 1, okay? And it's not going to be incremented more because it's not a multiple of those 3, and 1 will get assigned, okay? And the next time through the loop is going to be 2. But the 2 is divisible by 2, so it's going to get incremented to 3. 3 is divisible, and so it'll be in the inner loop until n is not divisible by one of those numbers again. And when it's not divisible, it'll come and increment that. It'll assign that, and then go back and assign. Does that make sense? It's just one line, and that should work. Okay, so you can run it now and make sure it works. And after it works,
you're missing a semicolon on line 53.
Oh, yeah, semicolon there. Thank you. All right, so now we can get rid of after it works, you can get rid of the line. There you go. So that's 10. How come it's printing so many? Oh, you're calling the function also? Oh, I see, you're calling the function also. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. So the function actually works. So this is what you need to. It's actually done it. So in the function, if you go back to the function, you just need to restructure the cout statement. Okay, restructure the cout statement so that you have a cout, left shift, and then 4 spaces inside a string, inside double quotes, 4 spaces, and then ARR within quotes, square bracket within quotes, and then close the square quotes, quotes, and then left shift the I, the index. We've done this many times, right? So do you want to do that really quickly before the end of class? It'll only take you like 10 seconds or 15 seconds, right? Do that, and we'll fix it up, and then we'll call it a day, right? So go to the function, and yeah, 4 spaces, and then
still inside the quote, do ARR, and open bracket after the 4 spaces. Still inside the quotes, but at the end of the quotes, yeah, do ARR and then open bracket, and then go after the left shift and then type in I. So like where yeah, perfect, right there. Make that I instead of ARR I.
No,
sorry, not in the quotes, but like after the left shift where it says ARRI, change that to just I. And then left shift again, and then just close the bracket, or yeah, perfect, close the bracket, and then left shift again, and then you can actually do ARRI, like without quotes.
I think you need a space and equals after the closing square bracket. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you're
Inside
right,
the quote. Inside the quote. So equals sign,
and the
sign, and the
equals,
space.
yeah, sorry.
Equals and a space after the equals too. Yeah. All right. So that is basically it, right? I think it should work and produce the result that we wanted. Why is it not producing the result we wanted? Oh, you still have our.
No, it is. We have the other one. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Great. That's actually pretty cool. We managed to complete it, and well, we ran slightly over time today. I'm sorry about that, and unfortunately, Adam had to leave, but he'll watch the video. But we did a few things here, and in the process, we actually ran into a bug that I couldn't fix, right? And Walter helped me fix the bug. Thank you, Walter. Okay, so and you can see that it was a very simple program, right? It's a very simple program, just a while loop and a for loop, and even there I got stuck. Even though I've coded for such a long time in my life, and even then I got stuck in these things. And I think it can indicate two things: either that I'm a sloppy coder, or even with a lot of experience, you could get stuck with simple things, especially if you can't see it clearly and things like that. So you got to be like super duper careful. That is why carefulness, right? Being careful is the mark of a good any employee, but especially for programmers. And that's why we had to pour over this with multiple eyes. Every one of you took a crack at this code and tried to fix it, and we got it to go eventually. This code still needs to be cleaned up. Okay, so clean up all the comments. Clean up the extra print. You're calling the function as well as you have a for with a thing and all, right? Clean it up, make it ship shape, and then post the link in the forum saying this is what we worked on in class today, and hopefully that will help the students who, well, actually a lot of students attended, but still I hope it will help future students. Yeah. Was this class useful? Did we actually cover stuff that was interesting and useful today? I know we have to cover 3 more important things about functions, which we'll do next class on Thursday, and those will be like super duper important. If you want to challenge, well, I'll give you the challenge next week. In fact, next week what we'll do is we'll do a program that will get given an array of numbers, and you have to find the minimum value and the maximum value of the array of numbers. So I give you an array of 500 numbers and say, what's the minimum of all those 500 numbers? You got to find out and let me know, right? So those things are very easy to do, like 2-line programs. There's 2-line functions. So we'll do those. And in the process of doing that, we'll say, we'll also try and fiddle around with passing the value, passing the thing, and keeping a leaderboard and those kinds of interesting things. Okay. So hopefully next class will be a lot more interesting than this class. Thank you all for, sticking around, being patient. Okay. Mainly being patient with me. When we were, struggling with a lot of these little things and things weren't working, and saying, hey, even the professor is having problems and I'm supposed to understand this. No, right? Anybody can have a problem with these problems, right? So you should say, hey, all right, so I can take this problem, right? And sink your teeth into it. Okay? So you don't have to clean it up now. So a big thank you so much for, doing this for all of us today. So you can clean it up in your own time, but before you post it on Reddit, just clean it up and post it. All right. Thank you. Are you guys coming back on Thursday? Yeah. All right. I hope you are. Okay. Thank you. I hope you had a good time. And I'll see you all in a couple of days. Okay. Thank you all. Thank you, Walter. Bye.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.